Can be hard when you grow up. People fill you with doubt. You start thinking about what you're gonna do now. And it's do or die, gotta make it count. So lose your worries, let your problems go on until my whole body burns out. I ain't never gonna slow down. I ain't never gonna slow down.
Welcome everyone, this is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden and I will be your Mindset Coach today. And today we're going to be talking about what to do when your hands are full. And I'm not talking about that you go to the grocery store and you're trying to make one trip so you don't have to keep going back to the car, keep going into the garage, whatever it be, to get the groceries. You might live in an apartment, and especially if you live on the third floor, you might say, I'm not going to walk up and down these stairs 15 times to get all my groceries. You try to do it all in one trip. But sometimes our hands can be full and we can't fit anything else. What is going to be important for us? And this is where our conversation is going to be going today. We're going to be learning how to get our mind a bit more focused on what to do when our hands are full. Because there is a reason why we do the things we do. But yet, we don't necessarily give attention to that until we are focused on that mindset. We're focused on being present in the moment because we're so worried about everything else. We are conditioned to think this way, to be so busy in our mind, right? There's always something to do. But yet, sometimes we can be in that feeling that I just want to take a break and we check out. This is when we're on a sofa. This is when we're just kind of chilling. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not helping us figure out the things that we need to do. Because let's say you're so busy, you have to make a sacrifice, right? Because most of the time when people say, oh, there's just not enough time in the day. Oh, I don't have any time. Very few people is that a reality to. That means most people have time to do the things that they say that they don't have time to do. So that could be that they want to go to the gym. That can be communication with your partner. That can be starting a new career, a business in the evenings, right? Building that $1 million business in the evening. All of these things can be done with the utilization of time. But people don't utilize their time effectively because they're carrying the baggage from every part of their life and every part of their day, every part of the future. I mean, we can go all the way. And we learn that when we want something good in our life, what do? Sometimes people say, I have to sacrifice. And it's not so much of a sacrifice. It's more of a focus. We focus on the things that we need to do. I talked about it on the podcast. Purposeful priority. We prioritize. Sometimes we get a bit of motivation, right? You listen to Motivation Emotion every Tuesday and Thursday when we're in season, and you can get some momentum to a better life, to being more active in your day. This is a good thing. However, if you don't give yourself the importance behind what you do, eventually you're going to stop. So we have to give our mind and create that freedom for us to do the things that we need to do versus the things that we just do. And this can be confusing because we might say, well, I have to go to work, and you work a 9 to 5, and maybe you make, let's say $20 an hour, $25 an hour, right? So we're around that hourly rate. You might be making ends meet, right? With just that money. But then you say, you know what? I can make more money. When that happens, what do you naturally do? Well, you naturally are going to make more money, but you're also going to spend more money. You have emptied your hands in the sense of you made your life easier. You have not increased your lifestyle yet, but you detracted from some of the burdens of just that $20 to $25 job. And now you have more flexibility in spending. I'm using money as the analogy if you're not catching on. You have some flexibility to now, not worry about if you're going to pay the bills, if you're going to be able to afford something. You have that flexibility. But what people do typically when it comes to, I now have increased my income, maybe it's $30, maybe it's $35, $50, whatever it be, right? Whatever the number is, we have more. And we're no longer just making ends meet. We have exceeded that, what tends to happen is we increase our lifestyle. We have emptied our hand. We got rid of all of the stresses, all the anxieties, because we were so full already. We were so worried. We were at the cap. And then we gave us some flexibility. And guess what happened? We said, well, we have all this flexibility now. Let me increase my lifestyle. Let me just bring that right back to the tippy top. Let me bring it back to the brim. And when you do that, now you have lost your freedom. You have given yourself a full hand again. And now you don't have the time anymore because you're just increasing your lifestyle with an increase in income. This does not only have to be income. This could be mindset too. This can be about any aspect of your life. You might be giving yourself more and then you detract from it, and eventually you just naturally give yourself more. This could be so many concepts. For example, think of Tim Ferriss. He wrote the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. We are so used to working 8 hours at least, right? That's the typical 9 to 5. You work your 8 hours. The issue with working these 8 hours is that if we ever stop working those 8 hours, what do we fill our day with? Many people fill it with nonsense, as I said. So when you get your 4 hours, right, because you finally succeeded in creating a 4-hour work week, or you succeeded in making more, and then now your burden is less, what should you do? That's going to be the most logical step. And I mean, people don't view life necessarily as a start and a finish. They see it as right now and what they can do. People don't realize that when they're born, that's when everything begins. And then when they die, that's when everything ends. Yet we fear the death. So we focus and we try to distract ourselves with the life that we have. Oh, I'm so busy. I got to do this. And if we are not busy, we begin to focus more. And it's not so much only on life, but the mind as well. Because the mind can also be a place where you're like, I don't want to look at that. It's interesting, to say the least, because when we're trying to help the mind look at itself, we don't necessarily know, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Most of the time when people think about death or they think about being old and can't walk, they're not necessarily positive feelings, so they try to avoid them. However, if we looked at life a bit more differently, what would happen not only to our day, our mindset, to the people around us, to what we can create through our purpose, our passion, our why, our mission, we are going to be in a whole different bracket. Probably you're going to be getting closer to the person that you were destined to be, whether that be on purpose or by accident. So we look at life, and a lot of people mix quantity versus quality, right? There's a difference, right? Our hands are so full because we have the mindset of quantity. I want to do as much as I can in my life. I want to do as much in my day in my life. I'm focused on quantity. However, if you focus on quality, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're going to be focusing our mind in a direction where we're going to be thinking, okay, what's going to be the most meaningful thing for me? We talked about it already in our to-do list. We talked about it already in general life and our relationships. But in the sense of relinquishing things in our day that don't serve us. There are many things in our day that don't serve us. And we always have a choice. I like to think of it as a flow chart. In the flow chart, you get to choose exactly where you go. And there's going to always be different options. For example, when I wake up, I can stay in bed. I can go on my phone. Like these are just different ones. So I can stay in my bed is one. I can go on my phone is 2. I can get up, go to the bathroom, come back to my bed is 3. I can go to the bathroom, go to the gym, go to the bathroom, get coffee, whatever, right? There's almost an infinite, or there's a large amount of options that a person can take. Flowchart. Eventually, we develop habits for that flowchart. So we wake up, we go on our smartphone, We maybe take a shower, go eat breakfast, drive, commute to work if you have to commute. And now we're at work for 8 hours, right? During work, we might have a flow chart there. Okay, I have to do my emails first, make sure I'm all caught up. Maybe I have to reach out to some clients next. Maybe it's time for lunch. After lunch, I'm going to be setting up some proposals, making a presentation for the meeting next week, whatever it be. We have a flow chart for how we typically do things. Now, you might have a crazy job or a job that's always on the fly. If you work in, let's say, a restaurant, a fast food industry, you're going to be, again, working with food there, but it's always going to be, okay, this person needs this, I got to do this, and then it's going to be a lot more kind of juggling. Now, there's still a flow chart there. You are fulfilling the orders of customers. Then you might get a break. And after the break, you might come home and you're so tired for being on your feet all day, you just want to relax. There's a flow chart, whether we like it or not. We get accustomed to our flow chart. And typically what I do with some of my clients who are a little bit confused on where they want to go is I present a flow chart for them. And I just ask them a couple of questions. I say, we are here right now. Here can be we're unhappy, we're unfulfilled, we're broke. It could be positive, right? We are fulfilled, we are empowered, we are joyful, we are ecstatic. This is a good place to be. But regardless of where you are, your moment, you're here at the moment, you have a choice to make after. Because that elevated sense of happiness can be thrown away. Because you might say, I'm super happy, let me go for a drive. That's one option. Maybe you say, I'm super happy, let me watch a movie or something. That can be another option. I'm super happy, let me spend time with my loved ones, my family, whatever. That could be an option. So there's always different options. Now we can have vices in those options. I'm super happy, let me go party. I'm going to go celebrate. I'm going to go smoke some cigars and I want to go drink some whiskey and some beers. I'm going to go turn up because I'm so happy. You don't have to go drink and do drugs because you don't feel happy. You can feel happy and still do those things because maybe you want a higher sense of happiness. But then maybe that is going to downgrade that happiness later on. It's a very good possibility. Not saying it's going to be certain. Everyone is different. But then we look at the bad stuff, right? Because the people who are already in a good place, they have a system for their flow chart and it's already there. We don't necessarily have to look at it so readily. For the people who are with a good, strong mindset, they are in a good place and they just want to make some small modifications. This is for the people who are more into that negative space. They have their hands full. They fill up their day and they don't know what's in it. At some point, we have to drop some things. We have to put down the things that are not important. How do we figure out what is going to be important for us? Well, number one, we need to prioritize us. It sounds crazy, right? You have to prioritize yourself. You're a parent maybe, right? You have kids. You have to take care of them. You have to love them. You have to cherish your partner. I mean, there's just so many different things that you're focused on. Self-care is probably not one of them. However, if you take care of yourself, guess what happens? Something magical happens. You're able to do more. It sounds crazy, right? It's like when you're trying to go to the gym. You need energy to go to the gym. But when you are at the gym, you're using your energy and you just, at the end of it, you're like, I used all this energy at the gym. I feel good maybe. But then there's going to be people who don't go to the gym and they say, I need energy to go to the gym, but I don't have energy to go there. This is going to be that catch-22. It's like you need this in order to do that. But if you do that, you're going to get a better return if you do it than if you didn't do it. Many people, self-care is that investment. We don't invest in ourselves. And I'm not even talking about getting coaching people. I'm talking about investing in yourself and paying attention to where you are, what you want to do, how you want to be, how you want to live life. Because we are going to not focus on death. We're not going to focus at the end. We're going to focus on all the things we can do, right? We're focused on the experiences. We're focused on all the good things, right? All the moments, all the pleasurable things. That is going to be more enticing to the mind. But what if we said, you know what, I'm only going to start working and looking at the quality things in my life, and I'm not going to elevate them once I get them? Because we all have this idea in our mind. I want something. So let's say I want a new car. Okay, I want a new car. I get a new car. Great, I'm happy. I got a new car. And guess what? Eventually that car just becomes a car. I'm not worried about the car anymore. A couple of years go by. I see the new models. They have new features. It could be a phone. It doesn't have to be a car only. But now I want that. Guess what happens with our hand that we finally, say, okay, we filled our need of a car, our desire for the car, our want for the car, and eventually it's almost like a leak in the vase or a leak in the glass or the vase or the bottle, whatever you want to consider the container that you're holding. And as it slowly starts to leak out, we are not even paying attention to what we have lost. We have lost the moments when we were excited for what we got. We return to that homeostasis, yes. At some point, you're going to have your most powerful moment in life. I don't know what that is for you. Have you had it yet? Maybe. Maybe not. If you haven't had it, what do you think it could be? Your most powerful moment. I can guarantee you it's not going to happen when you're so busy and everything in your life is just overwhelming you. You're anxious. You're stressed. You're unhappy. It's not going to happen there. What I can say is that moment where you have that epiphany, you're like, I'm going to make a change and I'm going to work towards something better. I'm going to work for that quality that I'm looking at. There's a huge discrepancy sometimes. There's a lot of work involved and a lot of work necessary to get there. Most people, they don't want to do the work. Most people, even when they have the option for freedom, right? Let's use freedom for an example. If it's going to be challenging, they'll probably just say, you know what? What's the point? I just might as well just stay in this entrapment and then, life will be over for me. Okay, cool. There are many ways we can think of it. We can go severe like slavery, and we can go as unsevere as, just working in the workplace. Okay. So I'm not saying that if you have a 9-to-5, you're a slave. Sometimes our job can enslave our mindset. And I'm going to explain that very quickly. I have talked about this, and I think I gave this example. I might have done it in Mindset OD, but today I'm going to present it in a way where it's a bit more palatable for the mind. Because what they did in slavery, of course, it wasn't so much of a jail, right? Like if you think of a penitentiary where we put our bad guys or our people who have done heinous crimes, we put them behind bars, put them behind walls. We don't give them freedom. However, in slavery, when they had the ability to run away, some didn't. Why did they not run away? Yeah, some did, of course. But the people who ran away, they were made an example of. Maybe they were killed. Maybe they were beaten. They were made an example of. And so what happens is everyone else that was a slave saw this. They saw the beatings. They saw the outcome and they said, this is not what I want. They chose a life, even though it was entrapment and enslavement, versus death. So they chose to be alive, even though it was imprisoning for themselves. They wanted to do more in their life. And sometimes we are doing so much, right? And we try to squeeze something in, and it might be a good fit at the time, but it might not be a good fit long term. So we go into our modern world today and we fast forward, and now we are maybe a high school student and we have the option to go to college or maybe to start a career. Which one do we do? Okay, doesn't necessarily matter, right? Because now you're stepping into a moment where you can put yourself into that person that's going to be that runaway person and you create freedom for yourself, or you're going to be that individual that finds yourself entrapped. Sometimes when you get a degree, you feel entrapped because you say, I have spent all of this time, all of this money on this degree, And now I can't necessarily do anything else. I guess I have to be an accountant. So now you're an accountant and maybe you don't love the job, but you're staying in the job. So now what typically tends to happen is our mind kind of goes down to that level of a lower level of homeostasis. So it's not so much of happy, it's not so much of too bad, but it is at a lower level. All right. So you have your middle, which is just like, yeah, everything's cool. Everything's okay. People ask, hey, how you doing, Michael? And I say, okay, homeostasis. If I'm a bit elevated or I am a lot more elevated, got some good news or something, I might say, I'm doing great. Today's a good day. If I am really, really low, I was like, I had better days. I would give that example. At some point, you have to figure out where you are on that scale when you are in a career or when you're on a path where you have that choice. Think of the flow chart again. You're an accountant. You might not like it. Do you spend your whole life here? Right? It's like, okay, well, I'm making money. I'm doing whatever it is. We fill up ourself. We adjust to that lifestyle. We fill up our cup or we fill up our hands, right? We give ourselves a lot of stuff to hold. This is akin to if you get an apartment, a house, or whatever, right? So let's say you have a 1-bedroom apartment. In the 1-bedroom apartment, you might have a bed, dishes, a couple of dishes or something. You might have some toiletries, of course, towels, maybe a vacuum, a TV if you are into TVs, maybe a bookshelf if you're in a bookshelf with a bunch of books. There can be a set amount of things. Now that space limits you from just hoarding everything. Eventually, you can actually fill every part of the apartment until you have everything kind of stacked up to the roof, but then how you're going to walk around. If you need to use the bathroom, you have to get there. So there has to be some way for you to navigate in your room. The issue now becomes, let's say we move. Okay, great. We are now in a house. We have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We just had 1 bedroom, right? So we go find the bedroom we want in the house and we say, this is my room. We put in all the stuff that we had in our apartment. And then we start to look around the house and things start to look a little empty. You know what will look good in that corner? A table. You know what will look good in that corner? A plant. You know what will look good in this room? A big TV. We can go on with this type of thing, right? So the 1-bedroom mindset we had is now a 3-bedroom mindset. And it's the same mindset as if our hands are full. We will always try to fill up our hands as much as possible. Just as I said early on with the grocery analogy, we would try to take 1 trip. However, I want you to do something today for me and then for you. I want you to give yourself a bit of leeway. Leeway can also mean that you want to give yourself a bit more space. You want to be respectful of yourself, of your time, how much you're giving yourself a burden. Once you create that awareness, I want you to take away the non-essential things, the things that don't have to be there. If you had the option to go on your smartphone, but you needed to do something else, you do something else versus going on your smartphone. If you wanted to buy something that you wanted to put in a corner, you choose not to, because it's not so much of wanting and desiring and fulfilling that desire, because the wants that we have will always one day turn into other wants. So once a want becomes fulfilled, great. Now we just give ourselves a new want. We have to train our mind to not want to fill up our day. And I'm not saying we don't fill up our day with goodness and meaning and stuff like that. This is a different type of mindset. This is the mindset that if you want to make your life full of meaning, full of purpose and happiness, most people, they say they want financial freedom. They want to be able to retire early. Well, what are you going to do when you retire early? This is a great question, right? Especially for someone who's young, who's having that mindset or that mentality. They're like, I don't know what I would do. Let's figure that out. It's not so much about filling your day where you are focused on the quantity. It's about making sure each of your days are impactful. If you can have an impact each and every day, it doesn't matter if you do 1 thing or if you do 100 things. You're looking to create the impact. What does that mean for you? Again, it's different for everyone. I encourage everyone to look for that answer. What is going to be the most impactful thing I can do today? We talked about it a bit in our to-do list with purposeful prioritization. However, this is not so much of prioritizing the things that we need to do or trying to relinquish the things that we want to do. It's understanding that we have a certain amount of things in our life right now. What doesn't need to be there? Once you can relinquish the things that don't need to be there, you create space for yourself. And then that space can be utilized to create more opportunities for impact or more opportunities for you to create meaning. If you're someone who just always gives yourself more busy work or to always do something else because you feel like you're not doing enough, or you feel like you're emptying yourself because you're giving yourself less things, it is going to be a mindset you do have to adjust to. If you're a CEO, you are going to delegate some of your work. I delegate some of my work, whether it be editors, whether it be people who do social media. It could be whoever, people who make my life more meaningful. It's not so much that they give my life meaning. It's just that they help me. They allow me to do the things that I'm meant to do, my zone of genius, my purpose, whether it be speaking with people, having the podcast here, speaking with you. I get to do those things because I'm not saying in my 24 hours I have to do everything myself. At some point, we have to empty the load. We have to empty the cup. We have to put things down that we're holding on to. Maybe not physically, maybe mentally. There are things that are anchoring you down to your current position. And this is where we are. Once you can start to do that, everything starts to fall into place a lot better. If you have a room full of junk and you want to move a dresser from one side to the other side, it's going to be pretty difficult. But if you have a room that's clean, clear, decluttered, you can move that dresser quite easily. Our mind is the same way. Our life is the same way. When we can declutter the things that in our life that are a distraction, things that are just getting in the way, they're obstacles, we make our life a lot easier. So you get to ask yourself, it's not so much about the easy life and I'm going to make life easy. I'm going to go live on easy street and everything's going to be a cakewalk. Don't think of it this way. Think of it more as I'm creating more opportunity for myself. So I can do the things that I need to do, that I desire to do, and I can do it more effectively and efficiently. Because if you're going to spend an hour moving a dresser that you could do in 5 minutes, you just created a huge amount of time in your day. Everyone says they don't have time, but we all have time. We all have the ability to look at our life and to figure out what we need to get rid of. What is that for you? My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, email me coachinginsession@gmail.com, and I'll see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.